crossing into a member of Yuzhibo, but Yuzhibo didn't want to save him, he just wanted to scam him back home. Coincidentally, it's the Third Ninja World War. Yuzhi Boci has been dispatched to Tang Zhiguo to carry out a mission. Yuzhi Boci is contemplating sending himself to death in this dangerous era, so there shouldn't be any problem. But soon, he frowned and realized that things were not so simple. Bishop of the Evil God Sect. Damn it, God. I have never seen Uchiha who was sacrificed on a shelf and still laughed wildly. Yuzhibo brings soil. Big brother, sparks and lightning all the way, cutting through the Shenwupi bridge and rushing into the Yenin position, just to save me. My tearful eyes. Anoki. I led 10,000 people to surround Reikage. What the hell is this thing now? Yuzhi Boci. Wipe, I just want to give up my reputation and die. Is that all that difficult? Book Friend Group. 7919822259 Keywords of the novel. Kiba. I Uchiha, I only want to die without a pop-up window. Kiba. I Uchiha, I only want to die. Download the complete text. Kiba. I Uchiha, I only want to die. Read the latest chapter. Chapter 1. Being canon fodder is often a beautiful passing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Being canon fodder is often a beautiful passing. Yuzhi Boci, the clan leader, has an order: all ninjas within the clan go to the hall of the security department. I know, I'll go right away. Yuzhibo nodded calmly and answered while retrieving an empty can from the river. The messenger Yuzhibo looked at him in surprise and reminded him in a low voice before turning around. Kid, the third generation of Fengying is missing, and the border is becoming increasingly tense, watching as the Ninja World War is about to break out. You're just holding back now. Don't show off and take on tasks that shouldn't be taken. Then, Zhongren frowned and glanced at what Yuzhi Boci was doing, and said in silence. As a Uchiha, what you should do now is to cultivate well, enhance your strength, and not waste all your time on such garbage tasks. After speaking, few, in the middle, endure to leave, Yuzhibo's eyes suddenly showed an uncontrollable joy, and he threw away the fork used to clean up the river garbage in his hand, stepping on the water and flipping over to the shore. Throw the can into a burlap bag on the riverbank. His grandmother, is the ninja war finally about to break out? Yuzhi Boci looked excited. I can finally go out of the village and die. This year, I have been so worried. Picking up garbage, catching cats, nursing children, dredging the river. How can I die easily from these bird hair missions? Yuzhibo breathed a sigh of relief and his excited hands trembled. I can finally go home. It is not difficult to see that the current Uchiha CI is no longer the Uchiha CI in the history of the ninja realm, but rather a traveler. However, he is not an ordinary traveler. He is a heavenly-born fierce man selected by the will of the heavenly Tao. What is a fierce man from heaven? Simply put, he will be randomly shaken with a talent, then they are sent to various chaotic times, relying on their personal abilities and efforts to rewrite the tragedies that should have happened, and promote social development to achieve happiness. By completing this task, Yuzhi Boci can receive a huge bonus to return to his original world. On the contrary, if one cannot do it or acts against others, they will be judged and erased by the heavenly way at the end of the ending. Of course, as the orthodox heavenly way, we will pay insurance for Yuzhi Boci. In the process of saving lives as a born man, if an accident occurs and the middle path collapses, he can receive compensation. Returning to the original world with a generous insurance premium, 500 million yuan. This standard cannot be lower than the original history, and malicious suicide will not receive compensation. Yuzhi Boci has been waiting for this moment to come. Having lost both parents since childhood, and often being bullied by clan members due to his mediocre qualifications, he has only been enduring it so far. I have never heard of such a person in Hokage, probably dying in the Third Ninja World War, or on the night of the Nine Tails or the night of the extermination. It's like cannon fodder. And what is the fate of a cannon fodder? Yuzhi Boci came up with the answer without hesitation: it's the battlefield. As long as you go to the battlefield and get stabbed to death. Even if Tiandao Insurance Company is strict, it still has to hold its nose and pay this premium. Coincidentally, it is now the eve of the Third Ninja World War. Sha-in, who has lost 3 generations of wind and shadow, will immediately declare war on Mu Yi and further advance the front line. Based on this, in the future, all parties will engage in melee. Battle of Green Reef and Rock Mist. The invasion of Tianji Kingdom. The battle of ending with one enemy in 10,000, 3 generations of thunder shadows. Rain Country, Demon Statue of Outer Dao, Dragon Soul Cutting Grass. The Battle of Shenwupi Bridge. Battle of Kikyu Mountain. Those legendary ninjas. The most brutal war to date. All the whispers of secret conspiracies, the greedy lines interwoven on the map. All will erupt during this time period. Yuzhi Boci pondered, with so many classic battles, any one of them could make this weak scumbag clear and honest. Be a cannon fodder, don't die too fast. Even though these wars still brought him bad luck, none of them survived until the end, and Yuzhi Boci could happily maintain a calm heart. After all, there will be the Nine-Tailed Night and the Night of Extinction after this. Of course, Yuzhi Boci never thought about becoming a powerful man from heaven to rewrite history. After all, there are still quite a few regrets for him in the Hokage. However, when he assessed the situation, he found that with his ability, wanting to achieve a more perfect ending than Crown Prince Ming is basically like dreaming. The Crown Prince has a series of cheats, such as talent cheats, paternal cheats, ancestral cheats, and other deceitful cheats, which almost capsized when facing the top combat forces of the Hokage world. And he is just a weak scumbag who can't even open the wheel of writing. Upward, he was unable to trace his bloodline and obtain genetic mutations through the power of the 6 paths of the Indra. Going downwards, with his level of knowledge, he is unable to achieve self-developed excellence and technological advancement. What did he hit with? There is a good way to start with a deduction of 1 and get a free kaleidoscope, but for a legitimate company like Tiandao, the hanging power is really insufficient. So far, the talent he has shaken up has not even been credited. Apart from being a cannon fodder, he couldn't think of how to turn things around against the wind with his mortal body. So Yuzhi Boci's idea took a 180-degree turn after knowing that he could reasonably deceive and use insurance. That's to say, 500 million, isn't it fragrant? As for saving the world, let's just say, believe in the Crown Prince. As for his wise words, let's start with the eve of this turbulent and mysterious battle of endurance. Find a place, give it away first. I've worked hard and died. Look, with such enlightenment, Monkey Flying Sun / would burst into tears upon hearing it. He still needs to burn paper for us in front of the consolation tablet. Convening the clan members at such a critical moment is definitely a war mobilization meeting. There are not many dangerous tasks to do, so I cannot let them snatch them from me. I need to go quickly. This wave is throwing its head and shedding its blood for my. You can definitely charge. Yuzhi Boci's eyes were certain and not confused. He took off his rain boots for the water and rushed towards the police station with his legs out. Not even the sacks and forks on the shore are needed on the side. Passing by this place, Yuzhibo was leaping over the eaves and rushing towards the security department. Coincidentally, I heard Yuzhibo's words below. He couldn't help but be stunned for a while, almost missing a step and falling off the roof. Immediately, his eyes lit up. Surprisingly, there are still people within the Uchiha clan who hold the same thoughts as me. Yuzhibo looked at Yuzhi Boci running towards the sunset and touched his chin. However, the mission that the clan leader is about to release is too dangerous. No, I can't let such a young and conscious partner die. As the words fell, Yuzhibo's water-stopping gaze was certain. As a good young man who loves the village, he fully understands Yuzhibo's attitude of fighting for the village. Under the influence of such emotions, it is very easy to have a momentary fever and run to choose tasks that others dare not even glance at, in order to prove oneself. How many good men have died for such foolish reasons? This is really a pity. And as Yuzhibo stops water, he would never let such a tragedy happen before his own eyes. Especially, those two will be mobilized soon, and it can almost be said that there is a mission of death without life. The new book seeks support, follow-up reading, and everything. This book summarizes the previous shortcomings, reflects on the past, and has prepared a comprehensive outline with a more enjoyable layout. Please rest assured and fall into the trap. Lost will do its best to present a different world of ninja to everyone, from the perspective of the protagonist, from the battle of ninja to the game between small countries, small organizations, and great powers, the elimination of blood heirs, the fusion of blood dragon eyes and writing wheel eyes, the immortal body of the cult of evil gods, the hydration of ghost lamps, the awakening of the kaleidoscope based on the mythological system of little days, and the explosive plot turning point. The taboo power of the mortal body to desecrate the gods also. Welcome to join the group and freely touch the author's dog head. 7919822259, above, show your teeth. JPG, thank you. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Yuzhibo stop water. Have you asked me if you want to die? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Yuzhibo stop water. Have you asked me if you want to die? Kiba Security Department. Under the emblem of a red and white table tennis racket. A group of Uchiha stood in the lobby of the security department, selecting tasks. A handsome young man crowded among the crowd, looking up at the bulletin board filled with task lists. Normally, the task is released at the Huiying Building's task release. But Uchiha is not a registered ninja named Kiba. He was like a pile of ninja coalition cannon fodder suddenly gathered by the 5 major powers during World War IV. He is a family ninja belonging to Uchiha. Although there is also a wooden leaf dog tag hanging on the head, it is always different. For example, tasks are mostly assigned directly from the village to the family, and then posted directly within the family in this way. The key is to participate and act within our capabilities. However, this clearly does not meet the expectations of Yuzhi Boci. My grass, there's no task that's related to the borderline. Yuzhi Boci was dumbfounded. During this period, the most dangerous place is, when it comes to the mixed zone between the fire country and the wind country, especially in places like rain country and valley country. But on the taskbar at this moment, surprisingly, there is no task related to border patrol, cross-border escort of goods, or tracking and assassinating enemy officials. All tasks can be completed within the country's borders. Even posted many D-level tasks such as finding cats, delivering letters, and farming to make up for the numbers. Within the scope of C-level tasks that he can access, the most dangerous, surprisingly, it drove back a huge wild boar that had escaped from the death forest not far from the village, Nima. I had originally thought that if I could leave the village, I would die. Yuzhibo was about to cry without tears, but what's the difference between this and the past? Yuzhibo resigned with a face as pale as death, shook his head helplessly, and had to decide to take the most dangerous C-level task of driving away wild boars. Can you give Brother Pig an extra meal? But at this moment, a slightly immature hand took him one step ahead and took down the task file. Sorry, please hand over this task to me. A handsome young man wearing black high-necked short-sleeved pants and carrying a pair of ribs smiled at Yuzhi Boci. The iconic Tuanzi nose instantly recognized Yuzhi Boci as the genius of Yuzhi Boci, whose name had not yet been revealed. Yuzhibo stops water. Yuzhi Boci. Damn it, you ninja with a registered Konoha, what family mission are you competing with me for? Sorry, Yuzhi Boci, this task can help me sharpen my knife skills, and I can give you the reward for the task, but please give me this opportunity. Yuzhibo Jishue smiled earnestly with sincere emotions. Under such a cheerful smile, Yuzhi Boci had no reason to refuse. Anyway, it's just a C-level mission and there's a high probability that you won't die. In the future, when the Ninja World War breaks out, there are plenty of opportunities to die, and Uchiha doesn't care about this one either. He was surprised and said, "Do you know me?" Yuzhibo Jishue, of course he knows. However, the fact that the other party knew him surprised Yuzhi Boci quite a bit. "Well, we did D-level tasks together, did you forget?" Yuzhibo smiled and casually lied. "Perhaps," Yuzhibo muttered, "he has done too many tasks and can't remember clearly." He is not interested in making friends with the characters in these original works, and even if it changes the future, it may lead to the Crown Prince's failure to save the world. Then his guilt would be great. Now, he just wants to die early and go home. Without bothering to pay attention to the other party, Yuzhibo continued to look at the task bulletin board. In fact, Yuzhibo Jishue also just found the name of Yuzhibo Ci from the task book. Moreover, he was shocked by Yuzhi Boci's resume. Yuzhibo Ci. Nishinobu, ninja with 1 year of experience, completed tasks. D-level 855 times, C-level 0 times. This colleague, whose name is not widely known, is actually a task maniac, completing D-level tasks 2.3 times a day on average, and not even taking a day off in a year. It's simply terrifying. Yuzhibo didn't know that this resume would shock Yuzhibo to the point of stopping water. He has completed so many tasks and wants to give it a try. Can he die suddenly from overwork? But if he knew that he would gain recognition for stopping water for this reason, he would definitely twist his body and shout. What a sin! This also makes Yuzhibo Jishue more convinced that this peer is not a vulgar Yuzhibo. One can endure to this extent. He is truly burning himself for the village. For this reason, Yuzhibo Jishue did not care about being ignored by Yuzhibo Ci. Instead, he took a step closer, almost shoulder to shoulder. "You, what are you doing?" Yuzhi Boci exclaimed in horror. "I didn't see it. Do you have this hobby at a young age?" Yuzhibo, who has strong eyebrows and big eyes for stopping water. Yuzhibo Jishue thought that his companion was a little socially anxious, so he smiled knowingly and whispered in close proximity. "Zijuan, I know your thoughts." Yuzhi Boci widened his eyes. How do you know that I want to cheat insurance?" "There are 2 very dangerous tasks for the mobilization meeting of the Presbyterian Council to be held later," said Yuzhibo Jishue, "but don't worry, I won't let you receive it." Like a demon whispering in his ear, Yuzhi Boci shuddered. Staring in horror at Yuzhibo Jishue. "I wonder if this birdman has some kind of cheat, such as listening to the voice of the heart. Want to pull wool from my buddies." However, the 2 tasks mentioned in the other party's words caught Yuzhi Boci's eye. "What task is it?" Yuzhibo lowered his voice, not wanting others to hear him, making the 2 of them seem to be engaged in an underground transaction, mysterious. "Indeed, you are such a person." Yuzhibo paused for a moment and then exclaimed in amazement. I once again recognized Yuzhibo's words in my heart. Then he secretly made up his mind not to let Yuzhibo die in a dangerous mission. Such talents, it should become a bridge between the village and Uchiha. At this moment, an elderly man with a white hedgehog head and a cold half-face armor, wearing only the high-necked black robe of the Uchiha clan, and not wearing a wooden leaf forehead protector, climbed up to the height of the security department hall. The eagle's gaze was sharp enough to make one dare not look directly. Yuzhi Boci was suddenly startled. Because the person in front of me is the only remaining elder of the Uchiha clan, in an instant, Yuzhibo. As a fierce man who once planned to assassinate the second-generation Hokage and still managed to bounce around alive, this person is naturally the hawkish leader of the Uchiha clan. The crowd of Uchiha present also cast their gaze on the old man, with respect, hatred, and indifference in their eyes. "Why were you summoned to come?" I believe everyone present must have guessed. In an instant, Yuzhibo spoke faintly, his voice echoing through the lobby of the security department. Not bad, war is about to begin. After the disappearance of the three generations Wind and Shadow, the entire ninja world gradually developed into chaos. Here in the land of fire, border frictions are becoming increasingly fierce. The latest news is that small-scale battles have begun on the Rain countryside. And in the farther outside world, the hidden fog and resentment have been accumulating for a long time, and as we watch, war is about to break out. The barbarians like Yunin also have unwavering thieves' hearts, and have been repeatedly tested and forced into the land of Tian. The entire ninja world is in full swing in an era of war, and it will soon come. However, Yuzhibo paused for an instant and said coldly. I, Yuzhibo, have gone through thousands of years of war. Such a small person is not enough to be a Taoist. Now, the battlefield of Rain Country and the garrison of Tang Country's Hell Valley. We need 2 ninjas from each of the upper, middle, and lower levels to form 2 teams and provide support. I will not make any forced demands, and I will make my own choice between the upper and middle ninja. If the number of people due is insufficient, I will call the names and force them to participate. The words fell, and the scene suddenly fell silent. Upon hearing these 2 place names mentioned by Yuzhibo in an instant, many people's faces turned pale with fear. Standing in the crowd, Yuzhi Boci intended to immediately raise his hand to sign up, shout loudly. When we rebuild the glory of Uchiha, it is our duty to do so. He suddenly felt a daze in front of him, and his whole body couldn't help but tremble. A voice without emotion suddenly rang out in his mind. The talent has been credited, Heart Steel, SSS. Please, let me steal again. Steel, door, with a deafening crisp sound, Yuzhi Boci suddenly woke up. But upon hearing the name of this talent, Yuzhi Boci's heart couldn't help but thump. Collect it, keep reading it, old man. Bang 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 bang. End of this chapter. Chapter 3, 3 sentences. Let Yuzhibo write Will Eyes for me. When you are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 3, 3 sentences. Let Yuzhibo write Will Eyes for me. When Heart Steel is a powerful equipment in a certain game. The effect is very straightforward. It can become stronger with just one touch of steel. Yuzhi Boci is not unfamiliar with this thing at all. He is a veteran player of the Steel Gate Seine, a level 7 brand, engaged in countless chaotic battles. The main theme is to insert a banner selling head. If you dare to hit me, okay, this head will be given to you, big brother. The more you send, the stronger it becomes, and the more you send, the more flesh it becomes. Now, when he wanted to die, such a talent appeared. It shouldn't have any impact on his insurance scam plan, should it. Yuzhibo's expression remained expressionless, and he began to feel a hint of unease deep inside. However, now he knows nothing about this talent, and the Heavenly Tao will has not issued a cheat user manual. At present, it is urgent to take on the task from Elder Yuzhibo. Before the cheats react, send yourself to the battlefield and have Yenin or something quickly kill you. Complete the insurance scam plan. This is the most important thing. But Yuzhi Boci always feels a bit uneasy in his heart. Looking back, only then did he realize the source of anxiety and stand beside him. This guy named Uchiha Shizuki, who is actually a little devil, suddenly curled up his lips in Uchiha's eyes, gave a gentle smile, and whispered in a very acidic voice. Yuzhi Boci, don't worry, I will take on the task of Elder's mobilization. You should stay within your tribe now and exercise yourself. Yuzhibo's sweat covered his spine in an instant, and his forehead was sweating profusely. He thought to himself, Big brother, why don't you hurry to the young master of the Fuyue family? What are you planning to do while staring at your buddies? Immediately, Yuzhibo dared not hesitate and rushed out of the crowd with one swift step, taking advantage of Yuzhibo's lack of reaction before stopping water, excitedly raising 3 fingers, swearing to the sky with a high tone. Elder. It is our duty to recast the glory of Uchiha. I'm not afraid of danger, please let me go to the battlefield. Yuzhibo took swift steps and screamed at the top of his throat, his voice becoming melodious and melodious, with lingering echoes. He confidently raised his arm with a resolute expression. Whether it's the pouring rain in the rain country or the soft jade hot spring fragrance in the soup country, none of them can shake my will to dedicate everything to the Uchiha clan. If there must be someone who needs to sacrifice, then I hope that person. It must be me. As the words fell, everyone couldn't help but look sideways with a hint of admiration in their eyes. Whose general is this? How could he be so brave? Zijuan. What are you doing? It was too late for Yuzhibo Jishue to stop, and he suddenly showed a look of shock and a very sad tone. Although the time was not long, he had already determined that, Yuzhi Boci is a companion who has the same will and can support their back. However, why did he turn around and give it away? What? Ah, is this the feeling of losing a companion? This Yuzhibo's face turned red from holding back water, with a strong urge to pull Yuzhibo's words home and hang them up, whipping them hard. The eyes of Yuzhibo, who had already reached a critical point in their water-stopping exercise, were already crimson without being noticed. A hooked jade spun rapidly in the eyes of the crimson riding wheel, revealing a melancholic aura. The opportunity to broaden one's eyes is called the loss of a partner. Like fate, triggered in advance on him. However, you can't do it, it's too garbage. Elder Yuzhibo frowned for an instant, lowered his head and glanced at Yuzhibo's words. He thought to himself, where did this fool come from? Still an unremarkable Uchiha ninja, what's the difference between that and trash? Words fall, the resolute expression on Yuzhibo's face froze. The edges seem to be able to scratch people to death. The awkwardness of the youth is deafening. Did you hear me? Yuzhi Boci's heart is crying. Uchiha despised you in an instant. At this moment, in Yuzhibo's eyes, a huge red dot suddenly lit up on his face. Covering the clouds and sun, Yuzhibo's face was almost blocked from his expression. But the pair of eyes filled with disdain were revealed, as if engraved on the heart of Yuzhi Boci. Make him feel a burst of anger. Although my buddy is a bit of a waste now, but, elder, if you tear the wound like this, I will also be angry, buddy. If you fold my wings, I will destroy your heaven. Elder. Yuzhibo's expression darkened and he took another big step forward, speaking sternly. This is not a matter of trash or not. I know, my abilities are limited, and I haven't activated the writing will I. Yuzhibo raised his tone and loudly said. However, Xiaoren participated in the war, I don't need to be responsible for front-line defense. Most of them are wandering around the edge of the battlefield to do some auxiliary work. Besides, other families have sent ninja into the battlefield of Rain Country. But I, Yuzhibo, don't you think that other families have underestimated us, Yuzhibo? Upon hearing these words, everyone immediately froze and looked at Yuzhi Boci with a look of horror on their faces. There's nothing wrong with that statement, but the person you are currently fighting against, but the fierce man who has assassinated the second-generation Hokage. Moreover, he is also the leader of the Hawks and the elder of Uchiha. His energy can be fully utilized by the Uchiha clan, power, momentum, surging, heaven. For words to describe it. Did you just go up there, kid? Who gave you the courage? After hearing this, Yuzhibo's face immediately darkened. With a black face, he thought to himself, did I give this kid face? A useless person who has not even awakened to the wheel of writing, how dare you refute his opinion? Well, this is really a little Sal climbing a tree, driving him crazy. However, in an instant, Yuzhibo suddenly thought for a moment. Isn't that the kind of talent he needs? Yuzhibo squinted his eyes for an instant and pondered for a moment. He, as an hawkish leader, responsible for developing hawkish members within the family, and this, of course, is not just about talent. Personality is of utmost importance. Especially for those, brainstorming, extreme personality, willing to sacrifice one's head and shed blood at a word of disagreement, striving for the future of Uchiha until the next good young man of 18 years old. And the more axial this kid is now, the more loyal he is to his family. During the coup, why not just shout and chop the dog head chopped by the monkey flying sun into a bowl? For Yuzhibo, a coup expert, he dares to pat his chest to ensure. No one knows more about coups than him. People like Yuzhi Boci are simply high-quality cannon fodder for a coup. So, we absolutely cannot let such talents die for the ridiculous task of serving Kiba. Thinking about it, in an instant, Yuzhibo's expression on his face changed from cloudy to sunny, and he even smiled ominously. Everyone present couldn't help but shrink their necks when they saw Yuzhibo's momentary smile, and their backs were a bit chilly. Even Yuzhibo's words made his heart beat a bit. It's not that I'm afraid of this old thing, he was just pondering, if this old man were to chop him down in a fit of anger, would it really fall within the scope of medical insurance? Calculate the will of heaven immediately gave a response in his mind. Yuzhibo's words suddenly brightened his eyes. Now, his heart stopped palpitating and his breath stopped panting. He straightened his waist and stared back straight at him. In an instant, Yuzhibo was almost smirked by Yuzhibo's small gaze. In an instant, Yuzhibo forcefully suppressed the strong urge to hang this boy up and take a deep breath, thinking of his own vision. Decision decided to give this kid another step down. He immediately glared back with cold eyes and sternly rebuked. Naive, ridiculous. If the battlefield is as beautiful as Uchiha's words say, Uchiha doesn't mind sending someone to endure and experience it. But reality is often more cruel. The one sent to the battlefield can no longer be called a ninja, it is called cannon fodder. For an instant, Yuzhibo stared coldly at Yuzhibo's words and said, "You kid, can't you understand human language?" However, Yuzhi Boci bared his teeth and gave a brazen smile, extending his neck to pat him, as if he were a rolling knife meat on a meat stall. "Why, elder, if you have the ability, just chop me down. If you can't kill me, let me go to the battlefield." As soon as I returned, it seemed like I had reached some critical point. Yuzhi Boci immediately heard a crisp sound in his ear, when, end of this chapter. Chapter 4 Task. Go to Hell's Valley. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Task. Go to Hell's Valley. At this moment, the field was silent, and needles could be heard falling. The crowd of Uchiha showed shock on their faces, and even the grandeur dared not take a breath. Afraid of taking such a breath, in an instant, Yuzhibo fired Yuzhibo on the spot. And in an instant, Uchiha, who was being watched by everyone, his face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Being scolded back by Yuzhi Boci so recklessly, even with his good temper, he couldn't help it anymore. In an instant, Yuzhibo's eyes lit up with crimson cold light, and three jade objects slowly spun in the eyes of the riding wheel, staring directly at Yuzhibo's words. A suppressed murderous aura gradually spread in the lobby. As if in the next moment, this elder is about to pull out his long sword from behind and cut fruit like a big piece of Yuzhi Boci. However, at this moment, Yuzhi Boci, who was being watched, had no time to pay attention to this suppression. At this moment, he was looking at the subtitles that appeared in front of him with a dazed expression on his face. When, you bravely hit the Uchiha wave in an instant and obtained a random skill on the target. Uchiha wave flow. Sword technique in the hand of the silk, divine. The number of layers of steel in your heart has increased in this moment. Yuzhi Boci was dazed for a moment, and a huge flow of knowledge flooded into his mind. From the styles of various swords in his hand, to the materials of steel wire, and to the techniques, dark power, and cleverness of throwing ninja tools, knowledge flashed through his mind. In an instant, one realizes, analyzes, masters, becomes proficient, and crosses one level after another that requires time to hone. To cross paths again requires the muscle instincts engraved in life and death, until, exquisite. Yuzhi Boci has mastered the superb level of Yuzhibo flow. The technique of wielding swords in the hands of silk. What's the situation here? Yuzhi Boci was stunned. I'm not joking, this level of swordsmanship in the hand is not even suitable for Sasuke's childhood windmill swordsmanship in the original work to lift his shoes. There is no shortcut to practicing swordsmanship in one's hand, it can only be accumulated over time. This level of hand swordsmanship requires at least a broken-arm Sasuke at the level of playing the big barrel wooden peach, in order to compete with him. But he just had a head-to-head meeting with Elder Yuzhibo, and surprisingly got it. However, thinking of the terrifying resume of Yuzhibo, who had assassinated the second-generation Hokage and was still able to bounce around alive, Yuzhibo's words were also relieved. Is this the confidence of the older generation of Uchiha artists? This, to be honest. It is truly the hardness of the heart, with a beauty of numerical value. Great. But why hasn't the elder killed me yet? On the field, after a complete silence of 3 minutes, Elder Uchiha suddenly turned his head in silence. He finally confirmed that this Yuzhi Boci is just a dumbfounded youth, without even knowing what fear is. Under his terrifying murderous aura, this kid seemed unaffected and stared at him with wide eyes. If you stare any further, the scene will be a bit awkward in an instant. Yuzhibo let out a cold snort. Since you're in such a hurry to send Muyi to death, I can't stop you either. You, stand out. Yuzhi Boci was suddenly awakened, and when he regained his senses, he looked up at the elder. His face did not show the joy of receiving the task, but rather a look of shock. Wait, this script is not right. Just now, Yuzhi Boci went to say such words to Yuzhi Boci with a sense of sacrificing himself on the spot. I almost chuckled twice, but, Elder, why did you harm my sister to chop me off? You actually cut me off with just one stroke of your hand. You are a hawkish big shot, can you show some masculinity? Tsujuan, Yuzhibo couldn't help but feel a sigh in his heart. From the expression on Yuzhibo's face, one can understand how dangerous war is. This young man is very clear in his heart. Look, Tsujuan's face has turned pale with fear. But even so, he bravely stood up. Since it is so, Yuzhibo stood still with his riding will eyes lit up and walked out of the crowd, staring at Yuzhibo with a moment of concentration and saying, Elder, the mission still lacks a low tolerance, please allow me to participate in the battle. Yuzhibo frowned slightly as he watched Yuzhibo Jishue walk out. His gaze fell on the other person's crimson riding will eyes and he said, Are you the grandson of Mirror? Jishue. Yes, and allow me to be arbitrary once. I would like to choose the mission to the Rain Country. Upon hearing the words, Yuzhibo didn't speak for an instant. He just glanced lightly and then skipped the water stop, continuing to assign tasks to the other ninjas. This is tacit approval. As the leader of the hawkish faction within the Uchiha clan, he naturally has a strained relationship with the Dove faction, and there is no need for him to worry about the development of Jishue. Within the Dove faction, early graduation from ninja schools and the initiation of Sharingan, as well as the talent and connections of the former clan leader's grandson, will naturally be nurtured in a nanny style throughout the entire process. Compared to stopping water, the biggest headache for Yuzhibo now is his speech. Although the hawkish philosophy of cultivating talent is to throw children off cliffs. Those who can fly will naturally become eagles that spread their wings and have free will. Falling to the bottom of the valley without flying and becoming a pile of rotten dog poop may also be considered a kind of luck in this increasingly chaotic era. But Yuzhi Boci, he didn't even have enough hair to grow, so he began to think about flying. The level of iron on his head was simply breathtaking. Even this extremely extreme hawkish leader thinks this kid is a bit too extreme. #quickly, the personnel allocation was complete, and in an instant, Yuzhibo coldly scanned the crowd and announced. On the battlefield of Rain Country, a small team consisting of Shinichi Ueno as the captain, Tetsunari Yasuji, and Shizumi Ueno arrived at the border camp first to wait for arrangements. The message from the Flying Eagle has been delivered, and there will be members of Uchiha to pick up at the moment. For you, I would like to remind you that your destiny belongs to Yuzhibo, it belongs to yourself, but not to Muyi. It's best for you to understand this to me. In the Tang dynasty's Hell Valley, a small team was formed by the old man himself as the team leader, along with Kichiro Nakano and Nishinobu Shimonoseki, to support the garrison troops in Hell Valley. Team members, gather at the village entrance tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Above, scatter. Yuzhibo has always had a swift and decisive style, announcing the mission and disappearing instantly. The ninjas present looked at each other for a moment without stopping, and the security department did not leave anyone idle. Soon, there were only two people left in the lobby, Yuzhi Boci and Yuzhi Boci, who were contemplating. Yuzhibo's words furrowed his brows slightly. Due to the interruption of the water stop, he was finally appointed to go to the Dungeon Valley. By comparison, he prefers to go to the meat grinder battlefield in Rain Country. The battlefield of Rain Country lasted for a full 5 years from the eve of the Ninja War until its end, with the joint efforts of Rock, Sand, and Cloud advancing the front line and advancing from Rain Country all the way into the territory of Fire Country. Finally, the Third Ninja War broke out, with the deadliest casualties in the Battle of Kiba, the Battle of Kikyu Mountain. So, Yuzhi Boci is more eager to go to this place because it is truly a battlefield comparable to a meat grinder. But others speak lightly, being able to touch the task is already a stroke of luck. He can only accept the result of task allocation and has no choice. He is thinking of another question. In the original incident, without his involvement, Uchiha Shizuki should have had to choose to go to the kingdom of Tang and later merge into the battle against Wuin. Without Yuzhi Boci taking the initiative to seize a spot, the Dove faction will not allow Jishui to make arbitrary choices. Even if Jishui takes the initiative, he will definitely be assigned to a relatively safe and secure fog-hidden front. Finally, create a name that instantly stops water. Now, due to his appearance, the storyline has begun to quietly change, flapping its wings like a butterfly. Will Yuzhibo Jishui die in the Rain Country as a result? If there is no water stop in the future, will Yuzhibo Itachi open a kaleidoscope and become the neurotic person who slaughtered the entire clan? Yuzhi Boci suddenly realized that, the appearance of him, his deceitful will, and the choices he makes have silently changed many things. Ahead, it seems to have been shrouded in a mist that cannot be seen from all directions. This made him shiver hard. Collect it, keep reading it, old man. Bang 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 bang. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Kingdom of Tang, the Land of Chaos. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The Kingdom of Tang, the Land of Chaos, Sijuan. Yuzhibo Jishui walked forward and patted Yuzhibo Ci's shoulder. He keenly observed the trembling of Dao Yuzhi's words just now. However, because Jishui graduated early and was still young, he was as short as a radish, and his comforting actions were somewhat comical. You don't have to worry too much. I didn't expect the elder to personally lead the team to carry out this task in an instant. It seems that the danger level on your end should not be high. Yuzhibo smiled kindly and offered words of comfort. Although he had chosen the more dangerous battlefield of Rain Country himself, he actually comforted Uchiha here. Yuzhibo returned to his senses and looked at him with an unattainable expression. His grandmother's, if you snatch my task of feeding pigs, you can forget it. Do you also snatch the job of dying? Can you be a person? Seiichiro, I have to complete the task before tomorrow's assembly, so I'll excuse you for now. Yuzhibo shook the C-level task file he had just taken on his hand, then said goodbye and left. After Zhishui left, Yuzhi Boci's gaze flickered slightly twice. Is the danger factor of Tang Zhiguo's Hell Valley really not high? This is not necessarily true. At night, the full moon opens up clouds, and the clear light spreads across the earth. Within the territory of the Uchiha tribe. In an instant, Yuzhibo stepped on his wooden clogs and opened the wooden door in indifference. In the small room, crimson eyes suddenly lit up. Big Elder. Amidst the constant greetings, Uchiha sat cross-legged at the top of the room's core. Sitting beside him is the second in command of the hawkish faction, Uchiha. And below, there are nearly 100 members of the Uchiha clan who are above the level of medium ninja and have activated the Sharingan. This is the essence of hawkism. Elder, isn't it already decided to support a group of powerful tribe members to go to the Tang Kingdom? Ba Dai frowned slightly and asked in a voice. Why is there a down ninja on the list, but there is still no right will I down ninja? Didn't you explain the danger of this mission to your tribe? In an instant, Yuzhibo picked up his teacup and glanced at Ba Dai, saying calmly, I will personally go to this mission. Having me alone is enough. But this time it's not just about the Blood Pool clan's upheaval, the pressure on guards has increased so easily. Yuzhibo, the 8th generation, frowned and analyzed. The kingdom of Tang is already located between the 3 kingdoms of fire, thunder, and water. In addition, recently, both Yenin and Shaiin have engaged in small-scale warfare with Wuyin, causing extreme chaos in this area. Spy and combat forces from various countries are mixed, along with numerous small organizations that emerged in small countries after the Second Ninja World War, such as the Shenyuan clan, Prajnaparamita clan, Evil God cult, and Earth Spider, as well as the remnants of the destroyed Yangyan village. The explosive forces of Chiyu, chasing ninja, and Iwayan, who rose to the position of wind and shadow and made achievements in the battle on the front line of Wuyin, have become Luo Sha, as well as the bounty hunters in the underground gold exchange. This place has become a mess. Yuzhibo's 8th generation shook his head solemnly, feeling that Yuzhibo was a little arrogant at that moment. In this situation, even if the 3rd generation Hokage personally takes action, it may not be possible to win the favor. Although Yuzhibo was an old-fashioned Yuzhibo from the Warring States period, it seems somewhat inappropriate to only bring 1 lower ninja and 1 middle ninja. But the manpower within the tribe is not actually abundant, and members of the security department are restricted by the restrictions of the wooden leaves, making it impossible for them to leave the village without reason. Perhaps we can request assistance from Kiba, said Uchiha. Suddenly, enough, Yuzhibo put down his teacup in an instant, his tone calm and unquestionable, having me alone is enough. In the 8th generation, the task of guarding the Hell Valley did not come from but was personally entrusted by the daimyo of the Kingdom of Thunder to Yuzhibo for a long-term mission, which is also one of our few money bags now. Don't build a sense of security on others, especially on the Leaves of Wood, the Flying Ape, and the Hidden Group. Yuzhibo lifted his head in an instant, his crimson riding will eyes lit up, cold and frightening. Only things that can be decided by oneself count. If someone gives you something, you should nod and bow like a dog to pick it up. If someone is dissatisfied one day, they can kick you away at any time. Under these words, the 8th generation of Uchiha fell silent. Ninjas are combat tools that break free from production. The wealth that Uchiha can obtain, in addition to his ancestral business and the real estate in Kiba village, can only be obtained by relying on his family of ninjas to complete large-scale tasks undertaken by a clan and develop the source of wealth. The task of guarding the Blood Pool clan receives an annual reward equivalent to an S-level task. Long-term, stable. This is also the root of Uchiha's inability to allow Konoha to interfere with this task. #pop. Yuzhi Boci has just opened the door to his residence. A young man with a disheveled face and goggles fell from the tree in the yard. At a glance, Yuzhi Boci could see that the reason why this product fell was due to uneven distribution of chakra output during tree cultivation, which did not grip the tree trunk firmly. Daitu, what are you doing again? As he watched the unwelcome guest drop, Yuzhibo's words were slightly speechless. This person is Daitu, who just graduated from ninja school last year. He is also his current neighbor. Oh, it's a farewell, I'm just preparing for the Chinese ninja exam. Yuzhibo rubbed the back of his head and hit him with a smirk, then showed his displeasure. Damn Kakashi, he used his identity as a ninja to suppress me, forcing me to obey his commands. It's just a simple task to catch a cat. When I succeed in my cultivation, I will definitely hit my ninja vest on his face. Yuzhibo cursed with dirt as he recounted the incident. After listening to Yuzhibo's words, he was slightly taken aback and a bit taken aback. Unconsciously, he had spent a whole year in this relatively peaceful wooden leaf. Only then did he realize that the timeline had reached this point. Dato had already formed a 3-person team with Kakashi Noara Rin last year, led by Pofengshui Gate, and had already completed D.level tasks for a period of time. However, Daitu's wish to become a ninja this year may not be realized. The Ninja World War is about to break out, and as an elite ninja, Bofeng Shuimen is about to rush to the front line. This team can only follow Shuimen to run around this year. It was not until the direction of the Thunder Kingdom slowed down, giving Kiba a temporary chance to breathe, that a ninja exam was held in Kiba's 48th year. It was also at that time that Daitu was severely injured by Medki's kick, and although he lost, he eventually succeeded in being promoted to Nakano. What are you staring at? Grandma cooked noodles, come over and eat them quickly. Daitu's hand shook in front of Yuzhibo Ci, tilting his head and asking. Okay, let me put something away. Yuzhibo nodded and did not refuse the invitation. On the way back, he passed by the river and brought his fork and shoes back. However, a sack of money selling soda cans disappeared without a trace, and was carried away by some grandson. Yuzhibo cursed inwardly, the world is really going downhill. Last year's wooden leaves, how could such a thing happen? Recently, the Uchiha clan of the security department has been affected by the outbreak of war, there are many meetings, so I don't have time to take care of things. This has led to a high trend of petty theft by wooden leaf thieves nowadays. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Ninja Cat Contract, Ninja Dao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Ninja Cat Contract, Ninja Dao # After taking the Tujia family to finish their meal and listening to him talk about some precautions his dear Shuimen teacher told him, Yuzhibo bid farewell and left. Ci and Yuzhibo got to know Daitu because Daitu's grandmother lived next door and often came to visit to say hello. They got to know each other quickly after a few visits. Unlike other Hokage characters, Yuzhi Boci can maintain a relationship with Daitu with great confidence. After all, willpower carries soil, and those who understand it. Even if you have a deep bond with him, it won't prevent him from giving you a blow after being blacked out. After leaving Daituja, Yuzhi Boci strolled down the street of Mai with his wallet in his hand. At this time, the dark clouds of war had not yet fully spread within the circle of civilians, and on the surface, my village was still a peaceful scene of tranquility. However, some clues have already emerged. At this moment, Yuzhibo leaned open the door and walked into a ninja shop. Hey, Brother Ci, are you here again to buy explosive talismans? The store manager asked Yuzhibo with a big beard and a smile. No, I'm here to buy a sword in my hand this time. Unfortunately, the prices of swords and painless goods have both increased by 20%, while the price of specialty steel wire has increased by 30%. However, I still advise you to stock up on some. According to the information from Grandma Cat, these hard currencies will continue to rise in price in the future. That's it. Give me 6 sets of ninja tools with steel wire holes, 2 large rolls of silk thread, and a sealing scroll. I'll calculate, there's still 200,000 yuan left. Replace them all with explosive symbols. Yuzhi Boci touched his wallet and grinned without any heartache. D.level tasks usually have a bounty ranging from 50,000 to 10,000 taels, and there are also hundreds of taels, but Yuzhi Boci was not accepted. In addition, Yuzhi Boci is a task completed separately, and no one pays for it. This year's crazy liver has allowed Yuzhi Boci to save a 7-figure deposit in his hand. And the money saved is precisely for this moment. Hua, brother Ci, you're a big spender. The store manager was slightly stunned, and Yuzhibo's consumption power, even compared to some special indulgences, was even greater than it could be. Yuzhi Boci smiled slightly. He didn't have to support his family, he just needed to reveal his household registration. It's certainly different from those ninjas who are stingy and save money for retirement. The price of ninja tools in the ninja world is polarized, with a burst symbol of 2,000 taels per piece. The sword in hand is the cheapest, only requiring about 50 taels, and the quality is between 200.3000 taels. The price difference between throwing and blocking is very large. A set of high-quality ninja gear, including throwing ninja gear, melee ninja gear, and protective gear, costs nearly 200,000 yuan. The prices of samurai swords and ninjas are even more outrageous. The cheapest practice ninjas start at 3,000 taels, and the chakra metal ninjas are even more outrageous. They are not for sale, and if they do, they are often sold in units of asthma. As for why did Yuzhi Boci buy so many ninja tools and detonating symbols? The reason is very simple. Yuzhi Boci intended to die, but he could not intentionally do so. It may sound a bit convoluted, but that's just the reason. Intentionally committing suicide will be judged by the will of the heavenly Tao as a scam, and I won't be able to get anything out of it. Xiao Ming also confessed it in vain. And if we say, a ninja full of fighting spirit, gambled all his possessions, offered his most outstanding skills for training to this day, and fought for righteousness, but died young in such a battle, who can say this is not a deserved death? Is this not the ninja version of the late emperor's entrepreneurship in the middle path collapsing? I'm so burned that there's not a single drop left. Why don't you present my medical insurance card with both hands? Soon, the manager of the ninja shop walked out with a bunch of things. Ping pong 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 pong. With a bang, he placed the ninja on the table, then, like wiping cards, the stack of explosive symbols was stacked into a fan shape, making it easier for Yuzhibo to count them. Brother Ci, do you have to do a very dangerous task when you buy so many ninja tools at once? At this moment, the store manager also realized that Yuzhibo's purchase of so many ninja tools was definitely not for fun. Yuzhi Boci raised his head and frowned as he looked at the store manager. Don't blame me for being talkative. I also know about ninja's confidentiality regulations, but I do ninja business under Grandma Cat and also do some intelligence business. The dangerous mission within the clan is nothing more than going to the battlefield of Rain Country and the dungeon valley of Tang Country. The shop manager's face became slightly solemn. No matter which one it is, it shouldn't be something that your strength can participate in. The store manager didn't beat around the bush and spoke very frankly. Then, he frowned and looked at Yuzhi Boci with some embarrassment. Considering that you have taken care of the business of the Ninja Cat clan for such a long time, I will provide you with an extra little gadget. Speaking, the store manager took out a piece of parchment and placed it in front of Yuzhi Boci. This is a one-time contract for the Ninja Cat clan, and after signing it, you can use teleportation to summon the Ninja Cat envoy. Renmao Shi is the elite cat ninja of the Renmao clan. More active in chaotic areas, with headquarters located in little-known ruins of cities. However, unlike traditional psychic ninja beasts, the ninja cat is a very distinctive type of psychic ninja beast that is almost impossible to be enslaved by ninjas. This group operates the ninja business and has a very close cooperative relationship with Uchiha, who is skilled in controlling ninja. Yuzhi Boci knows that the head of the ninja cat clan, the cat mother.in.law, loves children very much. If possible, the cat mother.in.law is not stingy in helping the children, especially Uchiha's children. Now, the store manager presents this one-time psychic contract, explaining the inference based on the information he receives. Yuzhi Boci is likely to face a near death in this mission. The store manager took out this cat tolerance contract, saying it was to help Yuzhibo resign, but in fact, he wanted to persuade him to quit. Ask him to abandon this mission. You should understand what I mean, right? The store manager stared straight at Yuzhi Boci, his pupils quietly changing into a pair of erect pupils. The tone also became very heavy. Yuzhibo smiled and took the one-time contract from the other party. Ninja cats are neutral ninjas and will not interfere in ninja disputes unless they are given enough money. So the biggest function of this contract is actually to supplement survival supplies and combat ninja on the chaotic battlefield, and similarly, it also requires money. However, for Yuzhi Boci, who spent all his money tonight, this is just a piece of waste paper and will not be an obstacle to his reasonable use of insurance. At this moment, he turned around and walked directly out of the ninja shop. Just leave a gentle sentence. Uncle, thank you. But I have something I must do, even if I face life and death directly, I won't be afraid. This is my way of endurance. After saying a beautiful word, Yuzhi Boci walked out of the ninja shop and pinched the wallet in his hand, feeling the balance inside. Turn around and turn into Hindang Lane in my village. Tomorrow we will face the fear of death. When we truly face this matter, Yuzhi Boci's heart is filled with excitement, but there is inevitably a hint of fear. So, he decided to eliminate this trace of regret tonight. 3 minutes later, seeking collection, pursuing reading, seeking everything you can, bang 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 bang. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Seiichiro, Pool of Blood and Glory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Seiichiro, Pool of Blood and Glory. Go, go, go. This is a legitimate venue, minors are not allowed to enter. Amidst the rough scolding, Yuzhi Boci was thrown out of the door by 2 strong and sturdy men. Yuzhi Boci stood up with a displeased expression and cursed. Dare to call it a legitimate venue even if minors are not allowed to enter. He tue. Upon hearing the commotion on Yuzhi Boci's side, the villagers inside the house looked at him with strange eyes. Do you think we can't see through when you use transformation techniques to touch it? The gatekeeper sneered and looked contemptuous. Hurry up and get out of here. If you don't leave, be careful. I'll let the adults of your clan come out and take you back. This immediately made Yuzhibo shrink his neck. He glared fiercely at the 2 watchdog dogs. If it weren't for social death not being covered by insurance, dare you hook your head and look inside. Believe it or not, I called someone. The big man wrinkled his nose and was about to shout inside. Yuzhi Boci quickly dispelled the beautiful thoughts in his mind and ran out of this section of the alley with his face covered in disappointment. When I walked back to the street, the shadows on the road had already become sparse. The full moon quietly gazes at all things in the world. The wind of early spring, which had not yet dissipated from the winter cold, blew on his face. Yuzhi Boci was startled and his mind returned to calmness. At this moment, Yuzhibo Kyoakiro, who was from the same clan and a member of the same team as Yuzhibo, walked out of the alley, swaying and carrying a wine bottle. Upon seeing Uchiha's words, Seiichiro glanced up and down at him, and couldn't help but smile awkwardly when he noticed the dusty marks on Uchiha's body. Oh, isn't this the glory of our Uchiha clan? What, was it thrown out? Yuzhibo's face tightened as he said, No, I just got kicked by an elephant while walking on the road. Hee hee, Who knows when they are young and immature? Kiyoichiro's face turned red, and he exuded a strong alcoholic aura, smiling awkwardly. I understand everything. After all, we're going to do this kind of task right away. Kiyoichiro's tone was slightly heavy, and his gaze changed a few times as he looked at Yuzhi Boci, as if he had thought of something difficult to accept. He suddenly frowned impatiently and said, "You're saying goodbye, right? Listen carefully." Seiichiro paused and his gaze narrowed slightly. "Don't expect me to help you with this task. Uchiha Kiyoichiro harbors hatred towards you." Yuzhi Boci glanced at the subtitle that suddenly appeared in front of him, his gaze slightly raised, and then replied calmly, "Don't worry, Senior Seiichiro. I won't hold you back. Hehe, it seems you still don't understand what kind of thing you've done." Kiyoichiro's face couldn't help but darken when he heard Uchiha's indifferent answer. "I don't know why the elder chose to let you participate in the mission. However, in our faction's planning, this mission was carried out by 3 members of the upper ninja level clan. As a result, because of your ninja game, the elder changed his mind and let me, as a moderate ninja, participate in such dangerous things." Uchiha Kiyoichiro's gaze gradually cooled down and he let out a cold snort. "You don't even understand what kind of lunatic you're going to face on this mission. You, who didn't write will eyes, are no different from a plaything in front of those crazy people." Yuzhi Boci raised his eyebrows slightly. What is there in Tang Zhiguo? How could he, who has read the original work, not know the destination of this mission? In the prison valley of Tang Kingdom, it is the Blood Pool clan. Their blood dragon eyes reflect a hatred towards the Uchiha clan that has lasted from the Warring States period to the present day. Uchiha Kiyoichiro was actually right. He, who did not write the wheel eye, has no advantage in front of the blood dragon eye, who is also a blood successor of the pupil technique. Blood dragon eye, this pupil technique blood relay, is very similar to the Sharingan, both requiring strong emotional stimulation to open. Unlike the Sharingan, once activated, the blood dragon eye also possesses abilities such as hypnosis eye, phantom boost, blood runaway ninjutsu, and human bomb, which are comparable to the 2 Goyu Sharingan. With the increase of pupil strength, perhaps more terrifying abilities will be born. Uchiha, who has not yet opened his eyes, or has just opened his eyes, encounters ninjas from the Blood Pool clan in a situation where his blood relay ability is being crushed, almost giving them away. Moreover, the Blood Pool clan lives year-round in places like the Hell Valley where birds don't poop, and each person has developed exquisite physical skills to fight birds and obtain food. Their throwing skills are at least at a proficient level. Conventional ninjutsu is also restrained by Blood Dragon ninjutsu, which has undergone changes in water properties, in an environment filled with boiling springs. The 3 aspects of endurance, physical fitness, and illusion are all crushed. This hellish level of difficulty, even if Yuzhi Boci possesses the extraordinary level of Yuzhi Boliu's silk hand sword technique, he can only stare blankly. It's simply not too perfect. Ahem, the meaning of Yuzhi Boci is that he is truly an amazing enemy. I will do my best to overcome it. Forget it, what do you know when I say these things to such a furry kid like you? Uchiha Kiyoichiro took a sip of the wine bottle and looked a bit dazed, muttering to himself, I just started the 2nd Goyu, why, it's me. He crouched on the ground with his head in pain, his face full of fear. Yuzhi Boci looked at Yuzhi Boci squatting on the ground, pursed his lips slightly, sighed, and stepped forward to pat his shoulder, then fell silent. What he was worried about still happened. Due to his actions, the plot was changed, which led to the involvement of this poor person. Although the two are not familiar, Yuzhibo still felt a bit of pressure inside his words. He shook his head and finally could only speak seriously. Senior Seiichiro, don't worry, I'll stick to that sentence. If someone must die, then that person will definitely be me. Yuzhibo's words are heavy and profound, you just need to protect yourself, and I am already mentally prepared to die. What are you saying? Kichiro Uchiha raised his head with a tone of shock. Then, his face darkened slightly and he sighed. In his opinion, Yuzhi Boci is still too childish and his speech is just a brain. Only after this kid truly faces death will he know what fear is. As a member of the same clan, what he said today was already too much. Even if he was too harsh on the other party, he couldn't bear it. After all, Yuzhi Boci is still just a child now. Forget it, this is my fate. In an instant, as if accepting fate, Seiichiro Uchiha swayed past Uchiha's words, carrying a wine bottle, and stumbled back home. Under the clear glow of the full moon, his disheveled figure was like a dog unable to find its way home. Suddenly, Seiichiro turned his head slightly and asked in a deep voice. "Kid, can you tell me the reason why you have achieved this level? What is it?" Yuzhibo's words were slightly taken aback, scratched his head, his face slightly embarrassed. "I can't just say it's for insurance fraud." After a while, Yuzhi Boci stood in the cold wind brushing against his face, under the cold and merciless moonlight, on top of the shadow stretched by the huge fire shadow rock. He slowly clenched his palm into a fist and pressed it against the heart of his chest. "Why?" Yuzhibo's expression was dark and unclear, but his tone remained resilient like a knife piercing through the weak heart. "I often wonder what mediocre ninjas like me can do. What is the meaning of the village and Yuzhibo? But after much thought, in the end, I could only confirm one thing. Without strength, nothing can be achieved. So, I am willing to dedicate myself to the flames of war, to serve them with fiery flames, and to search for my medical insurance between life and death. The path where these eyes exist. Then, use these eyes to illuminate the world. Remake the glory that belongs to me, Yuzhibo." Looking at Yuzhi Boci standing upright in the cold wind, as hard as a statue. "Is that right?" Uchiha Seiichiro nodded slightly as he looked at Uchiha's words, his face slightly softened, and he remembered the words that young Master Zhishui, who was also a member of the Pigeon sect but had an extremely noble identity, had said earlier when he found him. "I understand." After a moment of silence, Seiichiro Uchiha left with this sentence and left. Leaving his head in confusion, his eyes dodged, and his bewildered face scratched his head. "No, what the hell do you understand? Bang bang bang, everything I want to say is on the ground, you understand." End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Ninja Survival Rules, Cloud Thunder gradually appears. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Ninja Survival Rules, Cloud Thunder gradually appears. Hashtag at 6 o'clock in the morning. Before the alarm clock rang, Yuzhi Boci slapped and annoyed his alarm clock for a whole year. At this point, he had already put on full body protective gear. Dart covers, gloves, and ankle straps for forehead, knee, and leggings, book storage bags wrapped around the side waist, and ninja bags at the back waist. He put on a high-necked black robe with the Uchiha emblem, stood in front of the mirror, lifted his hair, and pulled down his eyelids. Jie smiled. "Now, I can see your dead face. Quick win Sasuke KO Shaoweasel Mysterious Map." JPG, after a moment of self-indulgence, at exactly 6 o'clock, Yuzhibo flipped through the window and jumped off the building. He happened to encounter Yuzhibo with the same movements as him next door. "Ci, are you also going to take on a mission?" Yuzhibo nodded coldly and reminded, "Don't be late again." "Are you joking? I, Yuzhibo, lead the earth, but I want to become Hokage." As he spoke, Yuzhibo patted his chest with soil and stepped on it, falling directly from the second-floor window. Yuzhi Boci shook his head slightly and said to himself that he truly deserved to be being late with dirt. "I sprained my foot and knocked my head." Those who didn't know thought this guy had just retired from the war damage package on the battlefield of Rain Country. "I will go to my hospital to handle it again, and when I arrive at Shueimen's shift, I will be at least 1 hour late." However, Yuzhibo had already become accustomed to such scenes, and he didn't care about the guy below. He just smiled and left a sentence. Tuzi, let's meet at the Comfort Monument next time. Don't forget to burn paper for me. After speaking, Yuzhibo stepped on the eaves, arched his feet, and jumped up, rushing towards the gathering place. There was an impatient leap in the footsteps. Yuzhibo Daitu. Hashtag in the towering mansion of the Uchiha tribe. That's it, Senior Fuyue. Yuzhibo bowed respectfully to the young man in front of him, explaining his purpose. Did Yuzhibo say it? Yuzhibo Fuyue nodded slightly and took note of the name. I believe he will definitely become a bridge between the family and the village. Senior Fuyue, please take care of my friend when you arrive at Tang Zhiguo. Thank you very much. Yuzhibo Fuyue embraced his arms with both hands and calmly spoke. Go ahead, stop the water. I'll be late for the elders' half-day trip to the kingdom of Tang. I'll keep an eye on your friend. On the contrary, on your end, remember to immediately contact the tribe members at the camp after arriving in the rain country. Also, you need to pay attention to a newly emerging organization in the rain country region. Yuzhibo stood still for a moment, then lifted his head slightly, somewhat puzzled. Emerging organizations. Yuzhibo Fuyue frowned slightly. An organization called Shao has a naive purpose, but you can try to get in touch with it. After all, the three leaders of that organization are disciples of Lord Sannin Zaraya. Nature tends to lean towards the side of the leaves. Yuzhibo Jishue nodded slightly, pondered for a moment, and then murmured to himself. Xiaomo. Hashtag at 8 o'clock in the morning. At the Wooden Leaf Gate. Two small teams with all members gathered for Uchiha. Elder Yuzhibo glanced at the sky in an instant, then glanced at the members present and spoke calmly. Since all personnel have arrived, the mission will start immediately. After arriving at the designated location, each team leader will unfold the task scroll, provide explanations, and assign tasks. Above, let's go. After speaking, Uchiha immediately took the lead and gently waved to Uchiha's words and Uchiha Kyoakiro beside him, and soon embarked on the road out of the village. In this situation, the 6 members of the two teams also have no time to reminisce. Yuzhibo Jishue smiled at Yuzhibo Ci, clenched his right hand and struck his chest, then followed the team. Yuzhi Boci looked inexplicably strange. He shook his head but didn't pay too much attention. Although Yuzhibo Jishue had some misunderstandings about him, the task they took on was incomparable. One travels to the rain country in the northwest direction of the fire country, while the other travels straight eastward across long hills to reach the Tang country. I don't believe it anymore. The Yuzhibo water stopper is in the rain country, but can he still hold on to the Tang country and not let him die? This wave, the biggest source of risk, has been eliminated. My advantage lies in me. The team led by Yuzhi Boci set off from my village and advanced rapidly towards the kingdom of Tang at a steady speed. The distance and speed of a ninja are comparable to that of a mud cart, crossing the long hilly terrain of the fire country from Kiba village to reach the Tang country in just one day. None of the 3 members in the team had a chatty personality and remained speechless all the way. After leaving Kiba village and in a prosperous area far away from the fire country, the scene in front of me suddenly changed. The border refugees and refugees heading south from Tang Zhiguo gradually filled the view, and the scenery along the way changed from lush green full of spring vitality to a desolate one. Dead branches, bare trunks, and helpless gazes leaning against them were the things that Yuzhi Boci encountered the most along the way. At this point, it is only reaching the middle range. There have been many traces of ninjas nearby. The scattered objects during the picnic, the warning traps around, and occasional peeping glances from the shadows made all 3 members of the team slightly cautious. On the eve of the outbreak of the Third Ninja War, small countries intertwined among major powers were the most chaotic zone. Tangren and Tangyin village cannot protect Tang Zhiguo and cannot bear the punishment of mission failure. A large part of them will become traitors and follow the refugees into the fire country. Finally, he became a bandit and was listed on the mission reward list. Hashtag as the light on the earth gradually fades away. As the sun sets, the red glow on the horizon gradually fades, and darkness is about to fall. Yuzhibo suddenly called a halt to the advancing team. He pulled out the task scroll and spread it out on a stone, his voice cold. Come over here, now proceed with the task description. Yuzhibo spoke with a stern tone, knowing that the main show was coming. Whether we can achieve the achievement of dying right out of the village today depends on this one. The goal of this mission is to reach the Tangzhi Kingdom's Hell Valley and support the stationed Yuzhibo tribe. Where do you think the greatest danger comes from? Facing the two, Yuzhibo fell silent for a moment before suddenly asking. Besides the content of the ninja survival rules, the most important thing is to deal with the backlash of the Blood Pool clan, right? Said Kiichiro Uchiha with a pout. Those crazy people are becoming more and more dangerous one by one. Yuzhi Boci didn't speak, just nodded in agreement. He and Seiichiro shared the same viewpoint. And he also knows that, above the madman, there are also experts. Blood Pool, Imperial City, or in other words, Imperial City Flame. This elder of the great filial son Itachi, with only one person's strength and no external assistance, brutally slaughtered the entire clan, and expelled all members of the Blood Pool clan except for his daughter from the ninja realm. It's hard to imagine at what level the opponent's blood dragon's eye has evolved. In the original Sasuke Lai Guang chapter, the Blood Pool Chinni appears, but compared to this one, he doesn't even have the qualification to lift shoes. This is the real heavyweight. However, in an instant, Yuzhibo shook his head, sighed, closed his eyes, and said heavily. You're wrong. The true danger lies not in the pool of blood, but above it. What? Yuzhibo hesitated for a moment. This is so special. Above the experts, there are also experts. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Old Stories of Clouds and Thunders, 3 People Becoming Tigers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Old Stories of Clouds and Thunders, 3 People Becoming Tigers. The campfire was blazing brightly, reflecting the night sky in the wilderness. Amidst the rustling sound of leaves rubbing against each other, one could hear faint screams and chaotic movements in the distance. 3 people sat silently around the campfire. Yuzhibo glanced at the two of them in an instant before speaking solemnly. The real danger of this mission stems from an unexpected event. Just half a month ago, the Blood Pool clan submitted their third confession to the daimyo of the Kingdom of Thunder. However, the envoy who was repatriated by the daimyo of the Kingdom of Thunder was killed on the way and was mentioned as offering a reward at an underground exchange. The great name of the Kingdom of Thunder was furious and wanted to continue imprisoning the Blood Pool clan. And the desperate Blood Pool knew there was no way out, so they secretly contacted Yunin. On the side of Yunin, people will be sent to liberate the Blood Pool. In exchange, the Blood Pool clan will merge into Yunin village and become Yunin's blood inheritance clan. Uchiha Seiichiro immediately felt puzzled. Isn't the Blood Pool itself the blood inheritance family of the Kingdom of Thunder? How could we negotiate such conditions with Yunin? Yuzhi Boci shook his head slightly, which he, who had read the original work, guessed. During the Warring States period, the Blood Pool clan had a daughter who married into a prestigious family in the Kingdom of Thunder as a concubine. Not long after, daimyo passed away due to illness, and the daughter of the Blood Pool family was jealous and slandered, and even the family was exiled to the Dungeon Valley. To put it bluntly, the Blood Pool clan had already become aristocrats, so they naturally did not want to lower their status and join the Cloud-Hidden Village to fight and kill. They would rather continue to be imprisoned in the Dungeon Valley, hoping to one day be pardoned and become the great nobles of the Land of Thunder again. The hope of pardon is shattered now, and there is no hope of continuing. We can only grit our teeth and join the camp of the barbarians like Yunin. And Yunin is also happy to see its success. The Great War in the ninja realm is imminent, and the Blood Pool clan is a formidable force. I can't say for sure, the envoy who was chopped down was Yunin's pen. To understand this point, Yuzhi Boci looked at the entire incident and felt a sense of clearing away the clouds and seeing the bright sun. Elder Yuzhibo did not explain too much to Seiichiro in an instant, but instead said with concentration. You just need to know that the biggest danger now is Yunin, that's enough. So, the first priority now is to safely arrive at the Hell's Valley and reunite with the Uchiha people there. It's getting late at night, Seiichiro. You alternate with Tsuyoshi and set up warning traps around you. Above, go ahead and do it. Uchiha waved his hand lightly for an instant and instructed Seiichiro. Seiichiro didn't get an answer, but instead got a lot of dirty and tiring work. He held back a lot of resentment and stood up cursing. At this moment, Yuzhi Boci's eyes lit up slightly and he spoke up, asking. Why don't we rush at night? In this situation, shouldn't we arrive at the Hell's Valley as soon as possible? However, Seiichiro showed a disdainful expression on his face and glanced at him with a slanted gaze, disdainfully saying. It's ridiculous. Kid, you probably haven't even read the ninja rules, have you? Do you want me to read it to you? The first rule of the rules is that ninjas should try to avoid marching at night and avoid ambushes. Uchiha Seiichiro despised you. Watching the subtitles drifting past, Yuzhi Boci couldn't help but shake his head in his heart. The truth is this, but if we follow the normal route, we can set off tomorrow morning. Isn't that making Yunin squat in the air? He left the village for 3 things, and that is battle, battle, or battle. Moreover, Yuzhi Boci's proposal of this point is not unfounded. At this point, Yuzhi Boci smiled and stood up. Can we analyze the specific situation in detail? Tonight, the black wind is high and I can't see my fingers. Not to mention squatting, I can't even find a toilet paper while squatting. Plus, we are Yuzhibo, and I don't even know what you're afraid of. The confidence behind these words lies in the bloodline of Uchiha, who inherits the limit and writes the wheel eye. Even in the darkness where he couldn't see his fingers, with the dynamic vision of the Sharingan and the insight into the flow of chakras, the ambush of Yunin was not a problem for Uchiha. If this is achieved, there is a high possibility that Uchiha and Uchiha Seiichiro will directly break through the defense line set by Yunin. And he, Yuzhi Boci, did not awaken to right will eyes in such a battle. It is absolutely impossible to survive. In that case, he can proudly give it for free. Elder Yuzhibo heard these words in an instant and couldn't help but lift his eyes slightly, looking at the accumulated clouds in the sky. However, Uchiha Seiichiro beside him immediately sneered. Seiichiro took 2 steps forward, picked up Yuzhi Boci's collar, lifted it vigorously, and leaned his head close to C's ear. He lowered his voice and said coldly. Yuzhi Boci, let me tell you again. Because of you, I was caught up in this messy task. Yuzhibo Seiichiro bit his back teeth, his gaze icy, and his tone extremely disdainful. What do you think you are? Do you also deserve to question the ninja code compiled by second-generation Hokage? Do you know how many ninjas die each year due to not following the rules advice in the entire Konoha? The words fell, and there was silence all around. The wind stopped and the cloud subsided. Yuzhi Boci calmly looked at Seiichiro and could clearly see the cold and angry eyes of the other party. He paused for a moment and then spoke faintly. Senior Seiichiro, ninja, the reason why he wants to climb over the wall is because it's the easiest way to do it. And it would be even more difficult to jump over. For ninjas, it's also possible to smash walls and move forward. Yuzhi Boci grinned his lips, glanced at the other person, slapped his palms aside, and said coldly. You put the cart before the horse. As this sentence fell, a deafening and crisp sound exploded in Yuzhi Boci's ear. When #hot springs mostly occur on river beds and valleys, and the country of Tang, known for its hot springs, has a terrain of high mountains and deep valleys as a whole. From the land of fire to the land of soup, from hilly areas to high mountains. Passing through the deep valleys between the high mountains is a must-pass place for crossing the border between the 2 countries of Huatang. At this point, under a big tree behind the pass, two ninjas dressed in Yunin ninja costumes and carrying long knives were enjoying themselves, roasting meat effortlessly. Another slightly younger Yunren frowned and asked, "Is there any problem with relaxing our vigilance like this, Senior Rami E and Senior Tu Tai?" "Molly, you're too tight." The older Rami remained calm and even handed over a roasted rabbit leg before explaining. "There is Tang Ren who we sent to keep an eye on ahead. Once there is any movement, we can receive the signal as soon as possible. Moreover, the people of Yuzhibo are not made of iron. They have been busy all day, exhausted, and knowing that there is a danger ahead, they will not stand up. Take a good rest." This time, Yuzhibo dispatched that old man from Yuzhibo's moment. "Tomorrow will be a fierce battle. He must die here to ensure that the two-tailed pillar's power destroys the garrison forces in the Hell Valley." Moloi glanced at the lineup of the three and thought for a moment, feeling relieved. One elite goes up to endure, another goes up to endure, and as a special go up to endure, he. How do you think about it? Taking down an elderly Yuzhibo is also a matter of utmost certainty. Moreover, none of the three people present are simple characters. Rami, a veteran ninja who has survived from the Warring States period to the present day, has gone through the peace talks of the Second Ninja World War, and has witnessed the nine-tailed golden horn and silver horn with his own eyes. Countless terrifying battles have not defeated this veteran ninja, making him truly old and resilient. Tu Tai, an elite ninja, one-eyed, wearing a black hat, is the left and right hand of the third generation of Thunder Shadow. He possesses the blood inheritance limit melting escape ability and recently served as the main examiner for the Junyo Thunder Plow Hot Blade ability. He is in his prime and his strength is comparable to that of the Shadow level. And he, Moloi, especially Shangren, is the first captain of the Cloud Hidden Barrier class and the confirmed successor to the Barrier class leader. Inheriting the sealing technique of the Vortex clan with one hand, even if Shangren doesn't check for a moment, he will be controlled and unable to move. Three people, it can be said that they are all experts in Yunin village. Such a lineup, even if it were another Shangren team, could not be their opponent. In order to join Yunin village for the Blood Pool clan, Yunin has invested heavily this time. Just wait for the hawkish leader of Uchiha to arrive, let him and his team be buried here. Please collect and follow up. This is really important. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Internal Conflict, Shooting Phoenix Fire. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Internal Conflict, Shooting Phoenix Fire. You used righteous words and reasoning to counterattack Kichiro Uchiha, you gain the skill from the opponent. Fire Escape. Phoenix Fire Technique, Level C, Proficient. The number of layers of steel in your heart has increased. Now, you can check the stacking level of heart steel and open your own skill panel. Yuzhi Boci was slightly stunned, and then a hint of silence appeared on his face. He really didn't want to trigger this talent, he just wanted to find an excuse to die. Can this also be just a moment? Uchiha's consciousness moved, and an imaginary grid immediately floated in front of him. Employee. Yuzhi Boci, Title. Heavenly Descending Hero. Talent. Heart Steel, SSS, Sharingan, Unawakened, B, Combat Intuition, Undeveloped, S. Skills. Uzi Wave Flow. Sword Technique in the Hand of Silk, Divine, S, Fire Escape. Fireball Technique, Beginner, C, Fire Escape. Phoenix Fire Technique, Proficient, C, and Body Technique, Beginner. Stacked Layers of Heart Rigidity, Expandable, Insurance Status. Paid. Yuzhi Boci glanced at it briefly, looking similar to what he had estimated, and then closed the panel with his mind. Apart from his talent, he suddenly felt a bit puzzled by the sudden addition of a combat intuition. Other aspects are still within his prediction range. Adding an extra panel, a ninjutsu is also a harmless thing after all, the panel can only be viewed, and this ninjutsu is only a C-level ninjutsu Phoenix Fire. Huadun has become famous for his compassionate ninjutsu, which follows the law of no harm with smoke. As long as we can persuade the two members of the team, we can still give this opportunity to die a try. However, Yuzhibo's words are very beautiful, but reality is not as he intended. His preaching words were ringing in the ears of Kichiro Uchiha, instantly making the other party's expression darken. Seiichiro is a member of the Uchiha clan's Pigeon faction and knows the inside story of the mission. When participating in this task, I was already filled with resentment. At this moment, I was scolded by Yuzhibo, and my eyes narrowed slightly. A pair of riding-will eyes quietly lit up in my eyes. Yuzhi Boci, are you here to preach to me? Seiichiro raised his eyebrows coldly, staring at Uchiha's words with a cold tone. Why dare you preach to me, a person who hasn't even opened his riding wheel? It seems that you need to learn a lesson. Just now, what Yuzhi Boci said had some truth, but Seiichiro's original intention in participating in this mission was to save his own life. Breaking through the border at night, something that only a madman would do, is too dangerous and beyond his consideration. So, that's why he appears so angry. Yuzhi Boci saw the other party's Sharingan light up, and instinctively turned his gaze to only see below Ichiro's chest. Then he saw that, Uchiha Seiichiro suddenly made a move, grabbing his hair with one hand and trying to clasp his shoulder with the other, pressing his head down completely. On his lap, a knee hit Yuzhi Boci's head with a rapid bang. Yuzhibo's pupils suddenly shrank. He had no idea that, while Elder Uchiha was still on the side for an instant, Uchiha Seiichiro dared to directly engage in infighting and take action against him. The next moment, taking a deep breath, Sei instinctively made her body move. He followed the force of the opponent's head button and twisted his steps onto the ground, exerting force on his waist, back, and legs, flipping backwards and slightly turning his face in mid-air to avoid the knee impact from the opponent. At this point, my hand had already reached my waist and quickly swung out 3 swords in my hand. And in an instant, he locked in the exposed throat, wrist, and temple on the ear side of Seiichiro Uchiha. What? Uchiha Seiichiro was suddenly startled, and his riding-will eyes widened. Under his dynamic vision, he could clearly see the sword in his hand rapidly spinning towards him. He quickly leaned back and urgently released his hand that was grabbing Sifa's hair, avoiding the sword in Sanfa's hand. He felt a slight shock in his heart, followed by a surge of anger that was about to erupt. Yuzhi Boci, how dare he resist? Rebellion against his tolerant boss. Seichiro's eyes twirled with 2 seductive gems, his eyes narrowed in danger, and in the next moment, his palms quickly formed prints. However, Yuzhi Boci had already begun to seal in mid-air before the other party landed. Zien Su Cho Mao In. Fire Escape. Phoenix Fire Technique. As Seiichiro was about to bear his final in seal, 6 sizable fireballs had already appeared before his eyes, rapidly leaping towards him. Following closely behind the fireball, several rustling sounds quickly came out. 6 swords in hand and 3 painless ones, accompanied by 6 fireballs, swiftly shot towards him like mountains and seas. Oh no! Seiichiro couldn't help but open his eyes wide. Quantitative change caused a qualitative change, and a total of 15 throwing units came at him. Even if his 2-hook jade riding-will eyes could see the trajectory of all projectiles clearly, it was of no use. The only thing he can do now is to quickly dodge with his teleportation technique. However, after 15 projectiles, Yuzhi Boci was still picking them up. He had already picked up 4 more swords in his left hand between his fingers. This is not over yet. Yuzhi Boci's right hand had already touched the book storage bag on his waist, and he took out the seal scroll to unfold. In the center of the scroll, there is a big, endure, character prominently written. Looking at the length of the scroll, there may be no less than 100 ninja items inside. Damn it. How can this kid shoot so well? That's enough. At this moment, the cold voice of Uchiha, who had been silently watching from the side, suddenly sounded. He suddenly appeared between the two and casually pulled out his ninja sword from behind. The ninja sword swung its circle, illuminating a crescent-like arc. Luosha, Luosha. Without bias, 6 fireballs, 6 swords in hand, and 3 kowu were all cut off and bounced open with this knife. Uchiha Kyoikiro. Elder Uchiha slowly withdrew his sword in an instant, his gaze cold enough to make people's hair cold. Go do things. Seiichiro trembled under the gaze of the elder and then fell silent. Silently walk away for a distance and set up a warning trap. Just a slight hint of dissatisfaction on his face, he is Zhongren, and just now he was caught off guard by Yuzhi Boci throwing a large number of ninja tools. As long as he takes it seriously, Yuzhi Boci's patience will definitely not be his opponent. The conflict was stopped. Yuzhi Boci was silently picking up the ninja on the ground, feeling extremely heartbroken. The elder's sword directly cut through his 2 high-quality kowu. As for the poorly crafted hand swords, it goes without saying that they are directly divided in half. This is all money. The money that was originally used on strong enemies was wasted on this guy Kichiro Uchiha, giving him a feeling of losing money. Yuzhibo's gaze paused for a moment on the 3 hand swords that Yuzhibo had initially thrown, and then he withdrew his gaze lightly. Of course, with his vision, he could see that the 3 swords in his hands that were initially shot off were wrapped in a thin thread. If he didn't stop this battle just now, Uchiha Kyoikiro will instantly reach that position, and then Uchiha will pull the silk thread. If this kid were a little more ruthless, Kyoikiro would probably have gone straight away. At that moment, Yuzhibo frowned slightly and looked at Yuzhibo's words. He suddenly had a strange feeling. It seems like he was the one who dealt with Kichiro Uchiha just now. This kid's swordsmanship seems to have something in his hand. You're called Yuzhibo Sei, right? Yuzhibo suddenly spoke up and asked. Ah yes, I am. Yuzhibo hesitated for a moment and nodded. In an instant, Yuzhibo squinted his eyes slightly and sat down by the campfire, waving to Yuzhibo. You come over. The preparation that needs to be done is finished, it's time to start. Seeking recommendations, collecting, and following up is really important for cute new authors. End of this chapter.